Welcome back to Dead by Daylight, in a matter of speaking, I guess. So, some of you actually asked me to cover the developer update. And, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Some of it's good, some of it's meh, and some of it's really, really, really bad. Like, atrocious. So, yes, let's get into it. Let's start with the beginning. The finisher Mori. They're bringing it back for some reason. That said, they're doing it a lot better. They're not screwing up Devour Hope. They're not screwing up, Rancor. They're not adding some sort of cursed base kit, turbo unbreakable. They're not making it so that it ends at, it's not a super slugging mechanic. They did learn a lot from last time. That said, it's now basically just a base kit yellow Mori at the cost of making red and green Moris completely useless. Your mileage may vary. I'd say the biggest concern here is that it will 100% increase slugging for the 4K. Because if you're going to reward players for getting a 4K with a cinematic, they're not going to let the hatch stand in the way. So keep an eye on that. Survivor perks. Teamwork, power of 2. I think this one could potentially be okay. The effect lingers for a couple seconds and can be reactivated. Range is 16 meters, no cooldown. No longer deactivates when either survivor loses health state. I think they need to be careful with this one. Right now, I don't think it seems too egregious, but Power of 2 is a haste perk. We all know how haste perks go. Teamwork, collective stealth, got the same buffs. I think this one's actually not nearly as bad because it's stealth. It is what it is. It's good. Corrective action. I think corrective action has a lot of potential to be an issue. Now, I have not actually looked at corrective action in a while, so I could be wrong. But as I recall, doesn't it replenish with your own great skill checks? Because if it does, then theoretically, couldn't you have two people with toolboxes and hyperfocus just go in and miss every skill check, refilling each other's corrective action and making the gen just disappear? I don't know. That's something to think about. I could be wrong on that. If I am, then it's whatever. Inner focus changes are fine. It's just increased aura reading duration and removed range requirement. I mean, this is basically the kind of info you'd get in a Survive with Friends. It's not a big deal. We're Gonna Live Forever has been made into a more consistent anti-slugging perk. I have no issues with it. Poised. So, I am not sure how I feel about this new aura read. When you first start repairing a generator, see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. That is going to be brutal against any sort of setup killer. And it could also kind of be nasty if a killer's like trying to take an odd route to try to get somewhere. I think it depends on how it works. Like, if he can just tap a generator and get infinite aura reading, that's malarkey and shouldn't come to live. If it's like the first time you touch a generator, like if the generator has no progress and you touch it, that'd be fine. That'd be fine, because then you're only realistically going to get it once or twice. Still going to hurt setup killers a little bit, but we'll see. Blood Rush got the Decisive Strike treatment, and ultimately I don't think it's going to be too big of a difference. Because you still have to be healthy, which means you're going to be spending some of your cooldown time, your activation time, getting healed. So, yeah. This is it's basically now Decisive Strike Exhaustion Edition, but you have to be healthy to use it. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's fine. But Gambit, this is the first issue. So now, not only do you see the aura of other survivors, which is fine, but it also increases like repair speed only by 5%, but across the entire map. It is no longer a limited range. This is not a good decision. This means that if a survivor has quick gambit, you can't afford to chase them at all, because they will just W, pre-drop, run around in a circle to try to keep chase while you do that, and just repeat, and gens are going to fly faster. I think that this perk is going to be an issue if somebody even knows... Like, okay, against your average solo queue potato who goes down in 10 seconds like me, this is not going to be a problem perk. The issue is that when you get somebody who actually knows how to be chased as survivor, this perk is going to be game over for killer. I genuinely think it's an issue. Then we have distortion. Oh, praise be. We can finally use aura perks as killers again. Now it just deactivates once used until the next time you're chased. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The biggest issue with distortion was people playing like absolute rats and just never interacting with anybody in the game. Like, this was the I'm only playing for Hatch. Guess what? You can no longer play exclusively for Hatch. It's beautiful. We can finally use our aura perks again. I love it. Lucky Star. I think Lucky Star actually got a bit of a nerf. I understand the idea of making it so that the suppression of pain and blood is longer. But the problem is you still leave blood leading up to the locker. So the loss of auras is pretty rough. I understand the idea is to make it a stealth getaway perk, but I also am like, on that because they kind of goofed it up. Because before, you could use it as a way to quickly, find somebody to heal you, or a generator to work on. Now it's just a very iffy escape perk. That's it for survivor perks. So yeah, mostly, I think corrective action, I would need to double check, but it could be an issue. Power of 2 could be an issue. Quick Gambit will be an issue. Alright, killer perks. Genetic limits. Now, it's just exhaustion on injure. I think this is fine. It's not a crazy long exhaustion. It's basically anti-Dead Hard. In an era where Dead Hard has become more of a slightly rare perk. It's still a good perk. It's still used fairly often. If you're worried about Dead Hard, I absolutely do recommend Genetic Limits after the update. But overall, it is what it is. It's useful. It's not game-changing. Leverage. When a survivor performs an unhook, their healing speed is reduced by 50% for 30 seconds. This is actually not bad. It's like 50%, that's actually pretty slow. This is basically the no, you're not healing under the hook. Or if you do decide to do that because I'm busy, you're going to waste a lot of time doing it. I think this is fine. Could be really useful for stealth killers because people want to stay healthy against them. Whack! Whack now actually starts with 3 tokens and is token based now. You get tokens back by hooking people, and other than that, it's the same. It's beautiful. Oh wait, they got rid of the auras though. So you break something and it's a screen. I think this is fine. I think what they're doing is that they're trying to keep Soul Merchant marketable by giving her better perks. These perks are still not good by any means. I just think that they're... yeah, you'll see what they did to her. It's pretty rough. Next up, we have Machine Learning. Most recent damage generator becomes compromised. Thank you! That was just the one issue with Machine Learning, is the fact that you had to kick one gen and then kick another and hope that the second one you kicked got completed instead of the first. It was not a great time to try to use it. Now it feels more usable, so I'm glad about that. Deathbound no longer has a distance requirement, and now deactivates when the healer is hooked. Once again, this is great if people are trying to stay healthy, because you basically become a stealth killer to them. It's beautiful. I love it. Zanshin Tactics. When a survivor is within 6 meters of a drop pallet within 16 meters of your location, their aura is revealed for up to 10 seconds. So, okay. Old Zanshin had its uses. I know a lot of Pyramid Head players would swear by it. Clown players, you all know which one I'm talking about. And Doctor actually got some use out of that perk as well sometimes. It was pretty funny. With the new one, it's really more of a mind game tool, which I don't necessarily mind. Yeah, mind gaming tool now. It's decent. Don't really have much to say. Some people will say that it removes mind games too much, but so does troubleshooters. So, if you had an issue with it, you should have taken it up back then. Such bad perk design, man. Alright, Dead Man Switch. I hate this change. Because, well, it does last 50 seconds now. Not quite double. It now only applies to the first generator that it affects. First of all, I feel so sorry for any people who are still trying to make Freddy work. Like, Freddy is not only the worst adaptation in the game by far, but now one of the, 2 perks that work on him no longer works on him? Like, what? That's terrible. That is just an awful change. Like, Freddy, Artist, it's just... Because the thing is, Dead Man Switch, that is not a perk that you would usually put on a regular killer, You don't run Dead Man Switch on Trapper or Wraith. You don't even really run it on Huntress. Like, you might run it on Doctor if you're running a specific build. But now, what's the point of running it? I don't quite know. It's like a... I don't know. Dead Man Switch change, I don't like it. I think the old version was more interesting. Blood Echo change no longer has a cooldown, but only has a 30-second duration. I don't think this changes much. Again, exhaustion perks on Killer are not as necessary as they used to be. So, I don't know. Maybe they could switch it to 45 seconds? I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Blood Echo change is going to change that much, though. Crowd control. So this one's nutty. So now the last 5 vaults that are rush vaulted are blocked permanently until the hex is cleansed. That makes some places really deadly. Really makes the hex worth cleansing, especially if there happens to be a strong window. Because, let's take Gideon for example. The stairway. That window with crowd control becomes a death trap. It's really going to be an interesting perk. Now this perk I really dislike the change to. Predator. Predator was a bad perk. It needed a rework. It needed a new feature. This is not it. When a survivor escapes a chase, reveal their aura for 6 seconds. The perk then goes on cooldown for 40 seconds. Why are we punishing survivors for managing to outplay the killer? Why is it that we're saying, okay, you managed to stealth away from the killer? Here, we're going to give the killer your location. Why? I don't think that this is a good change. I don't think this is good design. And speaking of, what did they do to Skull Merchant? They decreased the hindered down to 5%, which is trash. You no longer gain haste when scanning a survivor. Okay. Now you only have 1 drone line. And they're always in their active state. Yes, drone lines are now invisible beyond 16 meters, but come on, man. That's not a compensation buff. That is, we're sorry. That is the most pitiful, we're sorry, that I've ever seen. They straight up took Skull Merchant out back and gave her the old Yeller treatment. They gave her the French Revolution. Yikes, man. She's actually the worst killer in Dead by Daylight if this goes through. I'm not even joking. Trapper has Trapper's Basement. Freddy has mobility and the occasional mind game. Skull Merchant is literally better off just, bloodlusting? She's literally just worse Ghostface now. She doesn't even really get exposed. She's literally just bad, a mediocre stealth with no chase. She can't even crouch. She has nothing. I mean... First, they reworked Freddy. Then they got rid of all the fun from Chucky. Then, Knight, I haven't played him since his rebuff, but I've heard that the initial change was pretty bad. Now, Skull Merchant, why should I bother learning killers when you're just going to nuke them all anyways? Because they're not your generic dash killer or projectile killer. Not every killer has to be a reskin of Demogorgon, Billy, or Huntress. But apparently, that's what you all think it should be. like this is why I don't bother learning killers, because they're all gonna get gutted or reworked into some garbage that just is. Sorry about that. I really, really think that behavior butchered the school merchant. I think she's literally the worst in the game, bar none. Even like Launch Freddy had good slowdown. This PTB school merchant has nothing. And then just to, make things worse, they gave the S tier killer that I actually genuinely dislike a slap on the wrist. They gave Hillbilly a couple of very minor tweaks to his overdrive, which I think overdrive is just a bit of a... I don't know, man. That Skull Merchant update, that gets under my skin. Hillbilly, you got a slap on the wrist. I mean, he's slightly slower in overdrive. Overdrive is slightly harder to get. It does nothing. It changes nothing. Hillbilly is still Hillbilly. Like, what do you want me to say? Twins got a pretty hefty nerf. Now it's easier to pick Victor after he downs a survivor, and it takes so much longer for Victor to come back. I feel bad for Twins players, and I've heard Twins players say that this is actually a pretty bad. And the Unknown, where they just made it harder to choose your hallucination spawns and made teleporting a bit better. That's the update. So, to summarize, they're killing Ebony Mores and encouraging slugging for the 4K. They might run the risk of giving survivors infinite haste again. Potentially. I doubt that's going to be a big deal outside of some Swifts, but still something to keep an eye on. Corrective action, if I'm correct, is going to be a big issue with hyperfocus. With Gambit, it's going to be an issue if anybody's any good at the game. Distortion, good change. I actually like that change. Good job. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Machine learning, good change. Deathbound, fun change. Dead Man Switch. Why bother? Like, again, that was like one of the 2 reasons to pick Freddy. Predator. Why bother trying to break chase a survivor? Just run in circles till you die. Skull Merchant is literally better off not using her power, aside from maybe getting the occasional free hit. Just behavior. What are you doing? Like I said, there's some good. There's some good. The bad just really overshadows the whole thing for me. Yeah, it does not make it appeal. Like, I'm looking at this as somebody that has not played Dead by Daylight in a couple of months. And I gotta say, I think that couple of months is gonna be maybe a bit longer. Castlevania chapter, cool, whatever. I've never been the biggest Castlevania fan, just never played the games or anything, never watched the show. And I don't think a Castlevania tome is gonna be worth it. Especially when I just don't like the patch that it's coming with. Anyways, I will find something to record. I need to get back to this. I want to get back to this. And yeah, until next time, this has been Proselyte Primus.